Hi, my name is Mustafa. I'm an artist and poet from Toronto, and I know what you're thinking, that my financial success is probably going downhill from here. But I'll tell you what, there's flowers on my shirt, and there's flowers there. So, the coordination, it wasn't even planned. It just happened that way. And I don't know if that's leaves or flowers. I was trying to think the whole time in there. Are those leaves or flowers? But it's all a matter of perception, right? So I think they're flowers, and it could be whatever it is to you either. So yeah, let me start with the story that I just that I just remembered of. I don't recall where I heard the story, but it's an interesting one, and I think it's very relevant for today. So a group of university students, they go to a village in Africa, and they decide to create this project where they're going to try and benefit and try and help this village. How can they help this village? They go and they talk and they consult with some of the people of the village, and they realize, oh, the women of this village are traveling 3 to 4 hours to get water for their families. And they said, well, what better thing to do than to create wells inside this village? And so they did. They went back into the Western world, into their homes, and they fundraised, and they got all of the products and all of the resources so they could build these wells. And they built those wells, and they were so happy about it. And a couple of months later, they went back to see how it is that their project was being sustained, how it is that the well was benefiting the community. And to their surprise, the wells were clogged up, and it wasn't being used. And they realized after that it was because those women, the 3 to 4 hours that they traveled every single day, was an opportunity for them to explore their individualities, an opportunity for them to leave their abusive husbands, an opportunity for them to leave their families for a little bit. And that's why they used to leave every single day. And that struck a tenor with me, and I'll tell you why. It's because, for me, living in an inner city community in Regent Park, Toronto, that's exactly what happened. I was in the classroom, and they came and they showed me this template for the revitalization. And they said, your community is going to change, and this is how it's going to change, and this is what we're going to bring into your community. I did not know of this before, and I was very shocked, and some people were pleasantly surprised, but I was scared. Why didn't they consult us before? Most of my community, the largest population of my community were youth. Why wasn't there a youth board? Why didn't they ask us the questions? Why didn't they ask us what we need? Because you know what? At that point, since the revitalization began, more youth have died in my community than I've ever seen before. I've had more friends die than ever before. 15-year-old Tyson Bailey, a friend of mine, used to play basketball with him, and we used to love this game. It was called RuneScape. It's an online game. We used to play together. We no longer play this game anymore. This is how it all happened in the midst of the revitalization. And a lot of these things are being protected from the media. And you know what happens? Numbers. The thing is, you'll always be desensitized to numbers. I can tell you right now that one person died in my community, and I don't know how you guys would have felt about that, but I have to give you his name. I have to tell you what he's done, because I want you guys to paint the picture in your mind of a real human being, someone that exists. And that's what I try to do through poetry, through art. It's about creating that emotional connection. When Craig Kilberger and his team at Free the Children are there inside those countries for 5 years, what else are they doing besides building relationships? Me being born and raised in Regent Park, that doesn't mean that I know anyone in my community. Just because I was born and raised in Regent Park doesn't mean that I could talk about anyone's story without consulting them first. That's what I need to do. And so that's what I do through poetry, whether it's a relationship between me and my father. I'm trying to give more to it through poetry, because poetry is an emotional investment. And you know what? The great thing about poetry is that it's for everyone. Even when you guys are talking and using metaphors and similes to try and string in all these different thoughts in your mind and have a conversation with someone, that's poetry. When I was talking to my dear friend over here, and he was telling me that my arteries and veins, they represent the rivers and creeks, that's poetry. That is all poetry, and so that's what I try to do. I try to string in all these different words to try and build an emotional connection with someone. My sister, that's how I began. I began writing poetry because my sister used to write poetry, and she didn't know how to create a relationship with me. So she wrote to me in poetry, and I replied in poetry, and this is how we built our emotional connection. And ever since then, I could think of so many different accounts where that's how it happened. I think of my father, and both of us, we have so much pride. And so I said, how can I just overcome this? How can I try and deconstruct what this is? How we can overcome this barrier in our relationship. So I wrote a poem about it. I may break my neck the way I hold my head, but don't I reflect you? And when my pride won't rest, I may not hold my breath, but don't I reflect you? But I no longer want to mirror your actions. I want to love you in fractions and reflect only the pieces of you that love me too. And that's the poem I wrote for my father. And just doing that, it helped me deal with something inside. And I don't know what you guys believe in. I believe in one God. I'm a Muslim, but it doesn't matter what we believe in. All that you guys cannot disagree with me when I say that when we die, we only die with what's inside. Everything else doesn't even really exist. We only die with what's inside. All that we created inside, the love, the compassion, that's what we die with. And I hear stories of lawyers, the best lawyers in their field, the best to ever do it. Do you know what happens to them? When they pass away, their name, if they're lucky, it goes on a boardroom. If they're lucky, it goes on a room. Sooner or later, think of all the community centers you guys know of, all of the different corporations named after people. I don't know if you guys have an emotional connection with that person, but at the end of the day, it's who that person left, all of the love and all of the compassion that person gave to the people around him. Those are the people that are going to continue his legacy. All the energy that he emitted when he was alive, that is what he's going to be able to spread amongst the world. And hopefully it creates a ripple effect for as long as we all live. And so I'm going to share a piece with you guys now. I want to share a poem, and this poem is about a young boy, and a friend of mine in my community. He's my best friend since I was in grade 4. And he started to get caught up in gang violence, like a lot of kids in my community were. And I feared for him because he was getting caught up with the wrong group of people, the wrong investment. People were giving him love, a different kind of love. The thing is with friendship is that sometimes friendships are very destructive. And he was in a lot of destructive friendships. And so I heard one night while I was having hot chocolate in Tim Hortons, I heard gunshots, and I was very scared that he was shot, and it was him. He was shot in his leg. And I thought to myself, what a better moment now than to share a piece with him, than to write a piece for him, than to try and deal with something internally and also try and deliver this message for him about friendships, about emotional connection, about that love that we both share. And I know that I may be going way over time, but this piece is entitled Close. So thank you guys so much for being so attentive. You said they're your closest friends, closer than I am to you, closer than even the few who held your hand as you grew gallantly. But even the winds know that they are miles apart from you in emotion. The winds whisper, but you still listen to friends who haven't even spoken truth. Their words have broken you, their words have broke in you. But perhaps the skill you have to see inspiration in death, to see a path to success in those who transgress, to see sanity carved on shards of meth, to see more in less. But they've invoked unwanted spirits in you, decoded insensitivity. They've attached a dangling hook onto your body. Your movement is limited. You are no longer free. I watch you, nostalgic, as back and forth you rock like Father Clock as your father knocks, trying to wake up your innocence, but it's dead asleep. And that was, of course, with the help of your close friends. They who squeeze their hands into your neckline, you can no longer see with your own eyes. And I've spared you mine, but you give them back every time as they leave a puddle of liquid in your palms, a puddle you were once able to see the depths of a well in. But you've chosen to look into a different direction. How can you choose to look into an area of danger and infection in search of protection? But I guess that's where you found your close friends. Close like the lifeless to their graves. Close like rotten corpses to broken bones. Close like jugular veins to diseases. Close like hurricanes to lives that you spun into oblivion. You've spun us into oblivion. And I've been drowning grief you caused, and for the sake of your family, I wore the mask of an amphibian, but it became a tattoo that eventually sunk through, so I became a lie that can ultimately help you become nothing. And still you take our presence for granted. You take your present for granted. But what will you do when your present is wrapped up and packaged into a coffin that doesn't know of second chances? Second chances. You've had enough of those. And I know you're shivering because the hearts of our community beat loud and cold, and still those friends of yours refuse to give you clothes while they wear sweaters knitted with lies they've told. And you're so desperate to be accepted that you believe every inch of fabric that you touch but cannot wear because they don't care. And we stand here with bundles of clothing made with the blood of your parents, and that blood is so thick and visible, but to you it remains transparent. But I guess that's because you're attached to your close friends. It's dark magic. Oh, how their sweaters have an incredible static. It's deafening. You can no longer hear your mother mourning, though sometimes I feel the only thing keeping you alive is the prayers she makes every morning. She stays close to her Lord to stay close to you, because the tunnel she once used to reach you with is closing through. She tried to stay close, like the pureness that was once in her womb, close, like steel birds to lonely clouds, close, like the pillow she clutches at her stomach waiting for you to come home, close. Like her heart to yours, don't you know that one heart does not beat inside of you? That when you kill yourself, others are being tortured too. That those friends of yours may be close, but the chambers of your heart are what they are strangers to. Those friends of yours may be close, but the chambers of your heart are what they are strangers to. So when you are trapped within the chambers of a cell or the chambers of the earth, they won't acknowledge you because that's what strangers do. But us, those who care, we're able to paint the chambers of your heart on a canvas, and not because we're able to do what painters do, but because we'll actually remember you. Behind the ice-cold skinned you. Will actually remember you behind the ice-cold skin, you, so those friends of yours can stay close. Close like barriers to dreams, close like tears to fresh wounds, close like the hands of fear that shut our mouths, close like the bullet that could have swallowed your life whole, like the bullet that would have swallowed your life whole, like the bullet that some even say should have swallowed your life whole, but they will never have the ability to see you. Behind the ice-cold skin, you. And we acknowledge the fact that we are far. We are farther than they are. We are so far. We are so far. We are so far inside your heart that we are better off not knowing what close means to you. Thank you so much.